Who comes to bourbon country and gets a beer? Kiwis. Specifically this Kiwi, Willie. Let's see if we can teach Willie to appreciate bourbon.
We got a good lager. We're not going to use that one called Untold.
So some buddies from New Zealand came over for a truck show that was happening in Louisville. So I said, oh man, I can show you around some things in Louisville. So we did some tours, did some drinking. This is basically the full tour at James B. Beam Distilling & Co. It's pretty interesting. I'll probably just let it run all through. Not too much editing, makes it nice and easy for me. But great tour, and Jim Beam place here is absolutely fantastic, just south of Louisville by about an hour. So Willie, why do you hate Kentucky bourbon?
It's loaded, David.
Willie doesn't leave for anything.
We're gonna make Willie fucking a bourbon fanatic, one way or
I'll
another.
either be the most hated person on your channel.
Yeah, you already are.
Yeah.
Willie, Dustin, Shellen.
Yeah.
He's
Hey,
going to arrive as a hater, he's going to leave as a lover.
A2 containers or whatever you're gonna call you. Yeah. So first step is you jump on this bus and it takes you up to the top of the hill, and then you sort of walk your way back down. First stop is this area where they talk about the water, the limestone under Kentucky, and that's why Kentucky makes such good bourbon, apart from the weather. This is James B. Beam's car, and later on you'll hear that he used to carry around his yeast in the front seat there.
Oh, it's pretty good yeast.
Alright, you guys, so it's not a bourbon tour without drinking some bourbon. It's definitely not a Jimmy tour without drinking some Jimmy Black Label. Now, I know some of you, when you see this bottle, you probably get a couple faces at it, alright? I know you probably got some bad memories of it from college or maybe even high school when you drank too much when you shouldn't have. But I'm a person who believes in second chances. And if you haven't had it in a while, I think today is the perfect day to give this one a second chance. I mean, this is the #1 selling bourbon in the world. 80 proof, 4 years old, from our large batch collection. We would not be here today without it. We would not be able to innovate and make all the cool, crazy products like Booker's, Level Book, without this bottle right here. So it only makes sense that we start off with the best. I think it's the best, and I know that everyone, this is not going to be their favorite product. It's okay. You will not hurt my feelings if this is not your fan favorite. We can't make everything that everyone's going to like. So if you get bored of it and decide, I don't like it, that's okay. Don't bucket on the other side of the environment, considering we're such a big company. That's really cool. So we've had a very long-lasting friendship with them. Boehm Forest was founded in 1929, and we started making bourbon in 34. So that's only a 6-year age difference right there. So we've literally grown up next door with them. They dug up an aquifer that they had, and we've been using that water source ever since. We try to recycle as much as we can. We don't use any city water. This is all natural earth water right here. Now, what's really nice is that we have a secondary plant in Boston, Kentucky, about 20 minutes down the road. They use that water as well. So that river that flows all the way down, they get to use it as well, which is pretty nice. I'm a big advocate for them because, one, they're free to visit. They do ask for a donation, but they do not require one. They have a lot of beautiful hiking trails. They have this nice canopy tree walk that shows you just how ginormous these trees are. And of course, I'm a big fan of it because it's where I proposed to my fiance at. So I'm very much approving of this place right here. Go visit it, especially if you want to walk off all that bourbon you're drinking today. All right, now, once you get your water, your next step will be to get your grains, of course. We get about 15 semi-truck loads of grains every day, and 10 of them are corn alone. We take these grains in, we mill them down using a hammer mill to get them to a flour-like consistency. We will cook those grains. When they're done cooking, we'll send them to fermentation. Now, of course, when we get these grains in, we are checking them for quality. If it's not to our standard, we send it back. We maybe send 1 truck back a month, maybe, because we get our grains from the best possible source. I would love to stand up here and tell you we get them locally, but that wouldn't actually be the best possible source. Rye and malted barley do not grow well down here in the south where it's nice and hot. We wanted to grow north where it's colder. So Minnesota, Wisconsin, the Dakotas. I've heard you've even gotten rye and malted barley from Canada and Germany if they've had really great seasons. So best possible source. Now, our corn, we do get locally in Kentucky, but fun fact for you, sometimes Kentucky does not produce enough corn to supply our needs alone. So we will get a lot of our corn from Indiana as well. This is the part where my friends from Indiana start cheering, right? We got corn up there. Anyways, now, once we start cooking our grains and we send them to fermentation, they'll actually go through this room right here that you all see. If you don't look through these windows, you will see what we call large-scale fermentation. And it's large for a reason. No, it's 15 of those tanks in there. Each one of those tanks are 2 stories tall and hold 45,000 gallons. We have about 22 tanks on this site. We actually have over 40 tanks in Boston, Kentucky. And Boston, Kentucky's tanks run from 45,000 gallons to 80,000 gallons. So quite a bit. But a really cool story about the Cadillac, actually. So for what our records show, Jim Beam was one of, if not the first person to actually own a Cadillac in the state. So if you lived in Barnside, Kentucky back in the 30s and 40s, and you saw this bad boy sitting, parking, or driving around somewhere, there's such a good chance you could assume it was Jim Beam from Claremont. There was actually a cool way to verify it was him. So just kind of preface here, you can imagine Jim Beam had a lot of weight on him. Not only did he get to sell off his entire family history, but now after Prohibition, he's having to get it back in the money. And this is the one business that he truly wants to last for a lifetime. So he's trying to do everything as right as he can. He's got his distillery, he's got the grains, he's got his water, but he's missing something. He's missing yeast. Without yeast, you do not have bourbon. Well, he doesn't just want to outsource our yeast because, one thing, it's probably going to be expensive. For another thing, that means it's not exclusive to him or to us, because some other company might sell it to another one, and then they get to use that yeast. He wants it in its own yeast strain for his own product that you can't replicate. Well, he realizes that yeast is a living organism. It's in the air. It's literally everywhere. So he decides, you know what? Let's catch it. So he made a slurry of grains in a metal bucket, and he set it in his backyard in his house in Barnside, Kentucky. And he actually caught a wild yeast strain in the air since the yeast strain started fermenting that, essentially mashed in this bucket. We've been using that same yeast strain ever since 1934. It's over 90 years old. We're one of the last 3 distilleries that still propagate their yeast on site. It's all done in a building across the street. I wish I could go show you, but I don't even have access to it because not any everyday person can walk in there and say, hey, let me see that yeast. We're very protective over that yeast strain. But Jim Beam, I think, was even more protective over it because if he were to lose it, he'd be out of a job. So, of course, he had 4 precautionary measures. In case anything were to happen here at the distillery, he wanted the backup of the yeast. So what did he do? Well, he's like, I'll just take some home with me. So whenever he's leaving the distillery to go home, he would take a couple gallons of his yeast home. It'd always be in a copper jug on the passenger seat of his Cadillac. So you'll see that copper jug if you look through here. Now, what's really funny is I was talking to our current master distillers, and he said that Jim Beam actually also allowed his brother, Carl, to have some of the yeast at his house in the freezer. And when Lincoln found out about Jim Beam having our yeast in his freezer, they started freaking out. They said, well, what if the power at your house goes out? He's like, well, it's okay, my brother has some of our yeast too. And, that alone freaked him out. They're like, wait a minute, your brother lives in the same street as you do. If you don't have power, he loses power too. So now it's very much kept safe for tonight, block and key. I have actually had the chance to try it. It's gross. Who would have thought? It's a lot better once it ferments. He called it a collection. Now, TJ and I, having a good taste in colors and getting Jim Beam White Label globally on the map, that actually earned him the honorary title of Master Distiller. But he did help out with a product. He helped out with Jim Beam Black Label. Now, Jim Beam Black Label has gone through a lot of iterations in its lifetime. This is the most recent one. It is now a 7-year-old product, and it is 90 proof. If you like the White Label for that sweetness, I think you're going to like the Black Label as well. But instead of a corn sweetness, you're going to get more of the barrel sweetness to it, that caramel, that vanilla note. One of my favorites to mix for an old-fashioned or just drinking on the rocks. It's also only about $5 more than White Label, so it's around 25 to 26.
Hey, Dustin's bourbon. There's bourbon over here. Bourbon over here. You're on the wrong side. Get bourbon. Willie is still not convinced, but at the end of the day, we've only really given him Jim Beam, White Label, and Black. So, yeah, I can see why he would not be convinced about bourbon's superiority yet. These are all the massive fermenting tanks. Like, they just had tons of them, and they were humongous, as you would expect from Jim Beam. Jim Beam's making a lot of product, so yeah, they need a lot of fermenting of the mash.
It is 65 feet tall and 6 feet wide, and it runs 524. So it gets the weekends off, and I get a little jealous. I'm kidding. It works a lot harder than me, so I'm not complaining whatsoever. A second and third shift, it's all day, every day for 5 days sounds a little miserable in my opinion. But we have essentially tinkered with the machine since Booker knows time, even since Jim Beam's time, since we've had it back in the 30s, around 40 to 50, honestly. So over time, we've slowly evolved this still to be this hard-working machine that we have to this day. It is a genuine product of generational just enhancements and advancements to it. It is so cool. We already go inside. It is off, but it is going to be really cool looking at it. We're going to see the cookers. We're going to see the silos, and kind of preface what would be going on in that room if it was on. That mash goes in 2/3 of the way up on the 17th tray at 200 gallons a minute. What comes out is about 30 gallons a minute of low wine vapor, or low wine liquid technically, because we condense it down. That low wine is low proof, low quality white dog. It's a lot better once you proof it up. Well, technically, we're going to redistill it by proofing it up. So we're redistilling our doubler. Our doubler is acting as a copper pod still. So we're doing it as a batch at a time. While a still, we run continuously. So that mash should keep going. And if we want to switch from Booker's or Basil Hayden to Knob Creek, well, we empty it out. We let it drain for about 20 minutes. And we pump in the new stuff. That's all it takes. You don't have to go in there and do anything else crazy. Why we call it the hardest working still in America for a reason. Now, the only time it's shut off is during the coldest and hot months out of the year. So around February to January, and around, I would say, June to August, June to July, we're going to shut it down for about 3 weeks to a month. That is because we're going to do deep cleaning, repairs, maintenance. We're going to replace copper if we need to. We're going to maybe re-weld, repaint. Anything we need to do, that's what we're going to do. So this thing has some very high maintenance, but it's going to give us some very high quality products. Above us, above these concrete walls, you're going to see the silos. They hold all those grains. Those are usually emptied out every single day. So there's not much grains left over at the end of the day. If there are, it's going to get used very next day. We have our distiller's room right here through this window. That's where Butch and Gary and a couple others work. They get to monitor everything from distillation, fermentation, all of it. They're going to see exactly what's going on at what time, at what temperature. If there's something were to go wrong, that screen's going to flash and they're going to go fix it. And behind me are the cookers. We only have 2 in this facility. We have 2 10,000-gallon tanks. Takes 3.5 cooks per batch for fermentation. I'm going to give you all a moment to take some photos if you want in here, and then we'll head outside, okay? It takes us about 15 months to hit 1 million barrels. Now, that 19 million is how many barrels we have built since Prohibition, since 1934. And before that, it took us actually 169 years to actually reach 1 million barrels. Now, you guys, next pour you're going to get is actually going to be a choice pour, so you 2 have to pick. I am going to finish up that 8 generations of family history, because I'm sure it's been bugging you, so let's get on that cliffhanger. I forgot about that's okay. So that cliffhanger. Alright, so T.J. Maya ends up not having any kids. No, I don't know the reason why. Maybe he didn't want any, or maybe he's too busy. But his sister, Margaret Bean, she marries Frederick Booker Nell. They have a son together, Frederick Booker Nell Jr., a.k.a. Booker Nell, the big man of bourbon. Jim Beam's grandson. See, he's still related, just a different last name. See that? Because that's the room they were working on, say, in the concrete. But we cannot send cooked mash to the fermentation tanks directly, because that mash will actually kill off our yeast strain. We've got to cool it down. We send it through these mash cooling pipes here, or beer coolers is what a lot of people call them. It's about a 1/4 mile long, but it's literally shaped just like this in that room. Chill it down to around 77 degrees, so when it goes into the tank, it will kill off our yeast strand, because we got to add our yeast and setback. Setback is actually a previously portion of this distilled stillage that we're going to put into this new batch. This is actually the reason why bourbon's called the sour mash bill, is because of this process. This process was patented by a man named Dr. James Crow. He's the creator of Old Crow whiskey. They actually talk about him a little bit at Woodford Reserve. That's where he does it at, so it's pretty cool. Now, some products, like a sweet mash bill, is not going to add this step. The reason why we add this step is for a couple of reasons. It allows us to have a more efficient way of cleaning out our tanks. It allows more consistency with flavor. Doesn't mean that something that is a sweet mash is going to taste different batch to batch. Just means that there will be slight variance. So Buffalo Trace, their original mash build, like their Buffalo bottle, that's sweet mash. So you buy a bottle here and buy a bottle in California, they might taste a little different from each other. Buy a bottle of Jim Beam, white label, anywhere in the world, I kid you not, it's going to taste the exact same. Not saying one's better than the other, I'm just showing you the differences here. I don't believe any bourbon's better than the other. You know why? Because we all like what we like, and that's okay. My personal favorites are, of course, Boehm. I'm a big Boehm person. Who would have thought? Now, it's really cool. It's that yeast tank and that donut tank. I have not talked about that yet because I can't show you all that place anywhere in the facility because that is pretty guarded. That's where we propagate our yeast. We do that on site. So that donut tank, I didn't say donut. I said donut like donor. We're going to feed that tank hops and maybe some malted barley. That yeast will eat it and naturally replenish itself. Per batch for fermentation, we need 1,000 gallons of yeast. Could not imagine the price tag on that if we were to outsource it. 3 to 5 days in here, and it's done. So we get sent to the still. Now we're using these heat exchangers right here to heat back up that mash to close to 180 to 200 degrees because that's what the still is running at. So that hot alcohol vapor is running through these beer coolers. That's actually going to allow us to have that heat exchange. So hot things get hot, hot things get cold, cold things get hot. Pretty cool, pretty simple, and saves energy and money, which is another great thing that the company likes to do. So, the mash goes in 2/3 of the way up. I describe it as you're pouring pancake mix through a colander. It's going to cascade down through all these perforated trays, and we shoot that hot steam to the bottom to collect all the alcohol vapor. Now, products like Jim Beam White Label and Knob Creek, they share that same mash bill, that same yeast strand, but they taste completely different, don't they? Well, the first difference in those products is here, distillation proof. White Label is coming off this still at 125, then 135 off the doubler. We're then going to proof it down in the proofing tanks to 125 again to go into the barrel. Knob Creek, however, is 120, 130, then 125. So it enters the same proofing in the barrel, but it's going to taste a little different. That is because, the best way I'm going to describe this to you all, and how it was described to me, which is my favorite. Imagine you take the same cut of meat, like a nice New York strip. If you cook it as medium rare, medium, well done, medium, they're going to taste completely different to each other, aren't they? Even though it's the same cut of meat. That's what's happening here with distillation. You distill it at different proof and different temperatures, you're going to get a different outcome every time. Really cool how that works. So that's what's happening here. That's what makes Baker's, Knob Creek, Booker's all taste so different. Then adding of water. Knob Creek and Jim Beam, they're going to get water. Booker's does not get water. That is our uncut, unfiltered. We are not going to add water during this entire distillation process. So Booker's has to come off this made still exactly at 125. If it's anything less, it has to become a new product, which is easy. We just proof it down to 120. Or if it's at 125 with that, maybe 1 point off or so, we're just going to proof it down back to where it needs to be, put it into the barrel. So works out in the long run as well. That steam gets collected, gets sent over to our condenser. 30 gallons a minute is coming out of the low wine vapor that gets condensed down to low wine liquid. Now, the doubler is acting as a pot still. If you all have been to a distillery that uses a pot still, like Willet, like Woodford Reserve, like a couple others, you'll notice that it's very much going to act different than a column still. This can run consecutively over and over. This is just a batch. So whenever this is filled up and we're ready to go, we're going to put that batch in the doubler. It's going to heat up to where we need it to be at, so above 170, or if not higher, depending on what the product is. We're going to condense that down. High wine's the final product. That's where we're going to put into the cistern tank to cool down for about a day or two, let it naturally chill itself. Then we'll put it into the proofing tanks behind here. We're going to proof it down, and then we're going to put it into a barrel. Now, in these tanks are legitimate White Dog. Why like these? Because of the moonshine. Fun fact, White Dog's my secret rapper name. Don't tell my boss, he doesn't find it funny. Alright, but I do need a volunteer for this next part. And technically, they're all named Booker now. Frederick Booker now, Frederick Booker now. I mean, it's a long line. I think they're up to the 5th now. Same. But they are very wonderful people, very sweet, very funny, and so I'm talking to the family member and your family something to watch out for because you know, the 4th of all the world's bourbon. That's pretty crazy when you think about it. Now, do you all like that Knob Creek? Have you all ever had Knob Creek single barrel before? Maybe not. Well, I'll show you a little bit of it today. So out of our 3 million barrels, less than 1% becomes a Knob Creek single barrel. That is because it's actually under a lot of scrutiny. It has the opportunity to become a lot of other products like a 9-year small batch, a 12-year small batch, maybe even an 18-year small batch. And when they look for the single barrel, they're looking for specific tasting notes because, funny enough, Booker No hated single barrels. He didn't like the idea of someone trying a product of ours that they didn't like, but they might have liked it if it was a different version. So that was kind of his whole ideology. He wanted a consistent batch of tasting bourbon. Fred No, his son came in and said, Dad, that's stupid. Single barrels are good because of their uniqueness. Each barrel is going to be different. And when we have one barrel, we're only getting about 140 to 170 bottles per barrel. All right, after 9 years in the barrel, we only have about 60% of the liquid left. So not a whole lot of liquid is coming out of a single barrel. And that's going to go for a lot of our single barrels, like Baker's as well. Now, when I show you all this color, y'all got to appreciate the color of bourbon because it works very hard to get there. 100% of bourbon's color is coming from the barrel. Its flavor, 70% of bourbon's flavor is coming from the barrel. So this part really does matter. We even have a warehouse tour called Maturation Matters for that exact reason. We really go in depth there. I kind of skim over it here because, well, I can go on for another 3 hours about aging products. I'm sure I might bore you all, especially if I don't give you more bourbon. But for now, I'm going to need 2 volunteers here in a second because we're going to dump out this liquid so I can show you guys if anyone wants to volunteer. I got you. And then, who are you pointing at? Which one? Her? All right, we'll get for the fun. You're going to be my muscle, so I have you right here. And I'll have you. What? I'm trying to get all the brass. This is important. Muscle. That's all right. Come down here. Use the easy to grab the liquid. Definitely roll up your sleeve. All right. So you're not going to spill too much bourbon, but we're going to rotate it, and you got to catch as much as you can. Yeah, so it's a very important job, all right? If she spills any, you all can boo her, all right? That's the rule. I count to 3, all righty? 1, 2, 3. We're going to rotate it. Go as much as you can. Oh, my. There goes my page. I'm kidding. What's on your hand is yours. The glass is mine, though. We're not going to charge you. You can lick that off your hand, I promise. Or if you want to, you can rub it on your neck. It makes for great perfume. Now, you guys, look at that beautiful color. That nice dark amber mahogany color. It is gorgeous. The smell. I'm going to invite you all to come up here and nose the bourbon. No, please do not drink it from the glass. Uncle Sam is watching, and that will get me in trouble. But if you want to, you can take the glass, part your mouth slightly, and bring the glass to the center of your face and breathe in. When your mouth is open, it allows the alcohol vapor to escape, okay? If you really want to, you all can dip a pinky in, all right? I won't get fired for that, but drinking it straight from the glass will get me in trouble because it's untaxed liquid according to Uncle Sam. If it was my house, listen, I'll tell you what, this barrel's probably empty by the end of the day. I'd be pouring it to every single person who lives here. I pour with my heart, and I got a very big heart. But for now, I'll let you all come over here and smell it, or if you want to dip a pinky in. No double dipping, all right? He is allowed to smell it, just you can't dip your pinky in. Yeah, it's take a couple of years to start liking that one. The bummer on is what would happen if this kid just knocked it back? I don't know what I would do in this situation.
Forget about it.
With wax on top.
Oh, you guys. Oh, yeah. He's professional.
Maybe the pretty face of bourbon. Now, if you want your own Knob Creek single barrel 120 proof bottle of bourbon that is $60 in the gift shop, same price as any other bottle in the store. The cool part is the thumbprint on top. If you're a cute couple today, you can put your pinkies together to make them look like a heart on the wax. I think it looks like a butt, so I call it the bourbon butt. All right, but you can put a ring, necklace, keychain, whatever you want. Just know it's just warm wax. If you want a bottle, come on over here to this left-hand side where these gold stickers are. Write your name or initial on that sticker. Once you write your name or initial, come on over here, and you're going to grab a bottle and put that sticker on the bottle. If you did not want a bottle, just kind of hang out right here because you'll watch the process regardless. You're a pro filling? Oh, sorry. I thought you almost dropped it for a second. I got worries.
How about an extra shake for you? How about an extra shake?
Anything more than 2 there? Perfect.
That's the good stuff, though, right?
That right there is Knob Creek single barrel.
Oh. Do you love serving yet? Not yet. No.
Boo! You suck!
No.
Bourbon house, baby.
Yeah.
No one broke a bottle. You're doing better than me. All right, guys. So, last call for alcohol. All right, we're going to start this process. You all enjoy it. T-line is the one of only 2 bottling lines for Knob Creek single barrel. You're going to watch the entirety of the process. It's going to go down to the fill station first where it gets filled up. Once it gets filled, it's then going to go to the corking station where it gets sealed. Once it is sealed, it will then go to the labeler. 3 labels are put on it. 2 in the front, 1 in the back. Once it has its labels, it will then go to the waxing station. And that's where that'll be with your fingerprints, okay? So you all enjoy?
So while on the tour, you could get a bottle of 9-year single barrel Knob Creek, 120 proof, normally really good bottle. But this was the same price as buying it at the distillery, but in this one you get to watch it happen. And when they dip it in their wax, you put your thumbprint in the top of it. So makes it a little bit personalized, and it was a pretty good thing.
Is this normal running speed or is this like a slow demo?
This was normal running speed. I've seen some bottling lines, but you know, normally they were bottling soda and other things like that, going 100 times faster. But hey, these are much more expensive bottles, and you don't really want to be breaking your 9-year-old Knob Creek.
I like to spend my lunch break in there right now.
Needs to work with Pepsi.
Yeah.
Able to put on here.
Hard shell, so each bottle's gonna get a pull tab at the top. Just gonna make it so you can break open that wax once you get home. We're gonna do 2 dips into the wax. The first dip just puts the coat on, sits up. The second dip's not take it off the dip. Pause it. It's gonna harden up down that wax. It's also the boss on top, pretty at the top. One last final dip, rehold.
Hold down for just a couple of seconds, and perfect. Nicely done, you guys. That looks great. Have L and T in. Down, 1, 2, 3. And perfect. Good. Nicely done, you guys. That looks awesome. It looks good. Hey, Bourbon Buck. I have Miller. That wax was up pretty quickly. Especially when it gets about nice pullback.
So thanks Willie, Joel, Steve and Clive for coming all this way over just to check out the Bourbon Trail. No, actually they came over to look at trucks, but bourbon's just a special bonus, and I'm sure they all go away with a newfound appreciation for bourbon and its taste and its deliciousness, because why wouldn't you? But that was also my first time doing the Jim Beam tour, and it was a good one. So yeah, if you're in the area, put this one on your list as well. It was pretty cheap. It was like 30 odd bucks, and then you could buy a bottle of Knob Creek or not for about 65. And well, that's it. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned next time. I've got some videos I'm editing of our Jack Daniels pick. Did a tour there too, and the picking process at Jack Daniels, it was amazing, and that is a banger bottle. So stay tuned to get information on getting one of those, and stay tuned for my 3000 live that I'm going to have to do here pretty soon and give away some bottles. So thanks again for watching.